side arrives to talk trade and diplomacy, another side launches missiles. On the very day US President Donald Trump touched down in Seoul for talks aimed at revitalizing regional security, North Korea chose to remind everyone who still commands attention on the peninsula. Hours before Trump's arrival, Pyongyang announced the successful test of a new sea-to-surface cruise missile system, a theatrical, calculated move that left no doubt about its intended audience. The timing and symbolism couldn't be clearer. The peninsula's long-standing fault line isn't just geographical, it is geopolitical. On October 28, Pyongyang announced the successful test launch of the cruise missiles from its western waters, reportedly flying for more than 2 hours before striking designated targets. South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff said the launches were detected around 3 p.m. and that Seoul and Washington remain on high alert, analyzing the weapons. Meanwhile, President Trump arrived in South Korea on the 29th of October as part of his Asia tour, his final stop ahead of a meeting with Xi Jinping scheduled for Thursday, and Trump, speaking en route, dismissed North Korea's launches with a quip.
Oh, I don't know. He's been launching missiles for decades, right? It's another missile that was launched. I always had a very good relationship with him. So, at some point I'll be meeting. The schedule is very tight, as you know, but at some point I look forward to meeting him again. But we had a very good relationship. I mean, more than a relationship. We had a really good understanding of each other. We met, we spoke to each other numerous times, and we had a good relationship. At some point we'll be involved with North Korea.
And Trump even emphasized that his focus is on talks with China. Trump made it clear that while a meeting with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un was not on the agenda during his stop, he remains open to one in the not-too-distant future.
No meeting with Kim Jong-un this trip?
I don't know. People are trying. I think they'd like to, and I'd like to, but I also want to focus on China. Our focus is now on tomorrow with China, and I want to make that the focus. But we'll come back and we'll, at some point in the not-too-distant future, meet with North Korea.
Importantly, the missile testing and Trump-Xi meeting are linked by more than mere coincidence. North Korea's state media framed the test as expanding its nuclear-armed military's operational sphere. North Korea's leadership understands the choreography of global attention better than most. The launch came just as Trump's motorcade was winding through Seoul, with a perfectly timed geopolitical interruption. The message was unmistakable. While global powers talk peace, Pyongyang rehearses power. Remember, President Trump and President Xi Jinping's meeting marks a major juncture. US-China trade truce talks and South Korea's role as host for the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Forum. North Korea's choice to fire cruise missiles rather than the more typical ballistic missiles signals both technical development and psychological messaging. For North Korea, every missile launch is less about destructive intent and more about narrative. We set the timing, we grab the frame. These missile tests often coincide with major diplomatic or military events, US-South Korea summits, G7 meetings, or United Nations sessions. This latest episode fits the script precisely and perhaps more chillingly, showing just how well Pyongyang has mastered it. Behind the headlines, this test carries deeper implications. Cruise missiles, unlike North Korea's more commonly tested ballistic systems, are designed for stealth and precision. They can fly low, hug the terrain, and evade detection until moments before impact. If confirmed as a sea-launched system, this test marks a step forward in Pyongyang's pursuit of a diversified, survivable nuclear deterrent. Trump's visit to South Korea is meant to underscore US engagement in the Indo-Pacific, alliance solidarity, and a diplomatic tilt toward China. North Korea undercuts that narrative by turning attention to military developments instead of diplomatic detente. The Trump-Xi meeting is a high-stakes affair. sourcing trade deals, resolving tensions, positioning in the regional order. By launching missiles just ahead of it, North Korea reminds all parties it remains an actor, not bystander. Trump's announcement that he was unable to arrange a meeting with Jong is telling. It underscores the stalled state of US-North Korea diplomacy, even as Trump tries to reboot it. The fact that a meeting didn't happen now as Trump visited Seoul shows both the limits and the persistence of engagement. While the test may not have crossed immediate thresholds of crisis, the pattern is worrying. Defiance becomes normal and normal becomes provocatory. The more often such tests coincide with diplomatic events, the harder it becomes to respond with shock. And that's exactly the risk. The launch also plays neatly into North Korea's broader diplomatic strategy. Kim Jong-un has spent the past few years oscillating between isolation and exhibition, testing not just missiles but the limits of global patience. Each show of force is calibrated to win attention, leverage, and eventually concessions. By flexing military muscle at the very moment of Trump's regional re-entry, Pyongyang sends a message that cannot be ignored. Talks or not, North Korea sets its own tempo. The world can discuss stability, sanctions, or denuclearization, but the North remains the disruptor in chief. In an era when global crises compete for attention, North Korea's gambit cuts through the noise. It's a vivid reminder that the nuclear shadow over East Asia has not faded, merely flickered. Each launch adds to the regional arms race, heightens tensions across maritime borders, and raises the specter of miscalculation. For India, watching the Korean Peninsula isn't idle. The Indo-Pacific security architecture hinges on how the US, China, and regional allies navigate flashes like this. For Washington and Seoul, this is more than a diplomatic embarrassment. It is a strategic challenge. For Beijing, an opportunity. For Pyongyang, a triumph of timing. The missiles that arced over the West Sea may not have crossed borders, but they pierced the illusion of calm that diplomats in Seoul and Washington were hoping to project. In the delicate theater of East Asian geopolitics, North Korea once again seized the spotlight. The missiles flew not just over water, but over the arc of global interest. And for once, the world looked.
Been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing.